seeing a big waiting list, and half the folks have already renamed themselves using the naming convention. So they've either been on before or they've looked at the slides. That's pretty cool. Hello, Autumn. Hello, Adam. Don't recognize you. Yay.
Hello.
Hello. Seen Sam before, of course. And Alex Fang has come. Alex is on mobile, so he may have to have a bit of struggle renaming himself. By the way, if we have this naming convention we'll get to in a couple minutes. And if you're on a mobile phone, it could be really hard to rename yourself. Just ask and we'll do it. In fact, I'm holding off on doing the renaming thing for me until it's time to demo that. 447. Enough people are here. I'm ready to get started. If folks feel okay with that.
Yeah, let's roll it.
I see no looks of horror, so that I'll just go with a yes. Oh, now Eve is worried. Eve has concerns. Yes, Eve, what are your concerns?
I always have concerns. That's part of my job.
All right. Let's see. And
it's kind of growing. Some more people come in.
So there used to be a presenter view with Google Slides, but now I don't see it. So I'll just have to give up my entire monitor to that and not have it in a window. So be it. And
Kosie's here. All right.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's tremendous. Good to see Kosi.
Nice. We've got a new participant as well. That's
Kosi
starting
gave me
really
a picture frame. And my picture frame, my gift from Kosi is right there. It's just at the edge of the frame. So it's always visible.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Hey, Dimi.
Good morning, Dimitri.
I see.
Look, we've got somebody over there that's like super early starting into EOS.
We're putting on a show for the whole family at Josh's place.
Yeah, we got to start them young.
Yeah, start them young. The Constitution's not easy.
So. Okay. Can you say protect your private key? Yes, you can. Protect that private key.
Let's say bye-bye.
Okay. Screen share time. And big shout out in particular to Kevin and Myra for making the all the slide decks and getting them translated into multiple languages and so forth. It's just been tremendous work on their part. Right. So this is our EOS Constitution discussion series. We're in the third week of what we think will be a 12-week process, but we don't know that because we don't know how long it'll take to do that which we want to do. The purpose of the discussion process is to involve as many of our EOS community members as is reasonable and possible, to at least give folks the opportunity to participate in drafting one or more Constitution proposals to put in front of the token holders as soon as voting is possible. I think most folks on this call know that our existing Constitution is what we launched with. So the only choice anybody had back then was, do I join this mainnet or some other mainnet? Because that was the only way to pick a Constitution. And the people who spun up that particular mainnet actually co-authored a Constitution in kind of a blinding 3-day blur. And we've been working with that interim Constitution ever since, unratified because there isn't a ratification process. And we're confident as a community that ratification would be good and therefore ratify what exactly? Well, that's what we're going to work on here. As soon as we have a ratification or voting process, we're going to want to put things in front of voters that are coherent and well thought through and have a lot of input. And that's why we're here, is to get that input. So our conference goals here for this video conference is to look at how, last week we did, what do you want to have in a Constitution? And what should a Constitution do? And we've summarized that and published that. This week, and maybe even next week if we don't get far enough, we're going to look at articles of existing constitutions break each article down into what values is it trying to express, what core beliefs are like under the cover, like you must believe X in order to write an article like this. What are the design principles that must be present for this article to make sense? And then having surfaced the values, the beliefs, and the design principles, say, are these the right values, beliefs, and design principles for us as a community? And we may find that there's clusters of 2, 3, 4 different internally coherent and yet alternative value sets that we might want to present to the token holders for voting, for them to pick one for us to move forward with collectively. So we also want to encourage and train community facilitators, including the ability to organize your own video calls for discussion and sharing on this or other topics, because we are a fractal community. We can divide and subdivide. Just because the Alliance is hosting some stuff doesn't mean only the Alliance should be hosting things. Quite the contrary. So everyone will want to be looking at these links. They're available in the Zoom chat. They're available in the Telegram chat, probably in other communications medium folks are using. One is the current constitution from the EOS mainnet GitHub. That's the one that's actually installed. If you were to go off and look at our currently running blockchain, that's the one you'd see. And of course, the design principles that informed how the draft was drafted. Now, if you want to discuss Dan's version 2 constitution proposal, it would be great if you wanted to jump into that right away to do your own conferences, or wait a couple weeks when we get around to that. We're working our way article by article through version 1. But that doesn't mean that you have to proceed at that pace. If you aren't interested in version 1, you can go straight to version 2 or your own version 3, 4, or 5, or number it any way you like. So we're getting into the name changing piece. This is a little bit of cleverness that we've figured out from our time dealing with Zoom. We're about to go into breakout rooms. We have a fairly small turnout today, but in some of the larger calls where we've had, 50 people or more, it gets really daunting for the hosts and co-hosts to arrange people into rooms. So using this naming convention takes advantage of the fact that Zoom shows everybody in an alphabetical list. So we can take advantage of the alphabetization by having you use a format like square bracket, your team name if you have a team, close square bracket, or as I see, looks like Anna did, she's got AET. That might be a team name or it might be your initials. I don't know. But if you see, the brackets are optional, but you all have to be the same, because if somebody used brackets, some didn't, they wouldn't sort to the same spot on the alphabetic list. And the key there is if you want to be a team and get in the same room, you need to show up on the alphabetic list next to each other. See what I'm saying? So if you want to just do language, you don't care what room you're in, you say, hey, put me in an English language room. Kevin Wilcox with ENG at the front, or KOR for Korean, or CN for Chinese. If you're on a team, you can put the team in front, and team go for Kevin. And people end up in random rooms and discover they really like the group and they want to keep that group longitudinally, call after call. This is how you do that. We will put you in whatever room you want as best we can. If you're a facilitator, putting F at the beginning of your name helps us know that you should be one facilitator per room to start. And if there's 2, 3, or 4 facilitators in a given room, as sometimes happens because we have a lot of volunteers, please pick one to actually facilitate, and the rest of you just get to have fun and participate. Here's the sequence we're going to do. Go ahead and rename yourself. If you can't rename yourself easily, go ahead and raise your hand or type into chat what you'd like someone to rename you to. And our amazing co-hosts will take care of you now.
Since we're all speaking English here, the only thing really is if you're
This is the English call, so ENG is optional but perfectly legit, and it's good practice for next time. Now, I tend not to end up in breakout rooms, so I don't even do the ENG part. Let's see. So, sequence of events. Looks like we got things mostly renamed, yes. People who want to, it's a small enough call that the renaming is optional, but still good practice. So do encourage that. Let's see. In the breakout rooms, we'll spend about 30 minutes in the breakout rooms. And we're going to ask that you pick a spokesperson and a recorder separate from your facilitator. Eva's delighted by something. I can't tell what.
I can tell that Kevin's laughing at something.
Oh, I see.
I'm laughing at you.
It's God. You're all muted, and it's still contagious when we both start laughing.
It was that little baby that got us going here, acting like
yeah. It just takes one. So you have a facilitator who's going to keep the conversation moving, make sure that people take turns, a spokesperson who will report back to the main group, summarizing whatever conclusions you guys came to or whatever discoveries you made. And also a recorder. It's really good to have a written copy because I promise you, I am never going to go back and look at hours worth of recordings, but I will read. I read very fast. I will read a summary. Absolutely, I will. So one of the first things you'll want to do after you've got your facilitator picked out, your spokesperson, whoever, and you can pick the spokesperson right at the end if you want to. Some people do that. But spend the first 3 or 4 minutes just reading whichever Constitution article that we've asked you to work on. We've done articles 1 through 7 in prior calls, so I'm going to encourage folks to go to 8 and 9 and maybe 10 today. And maybe also look at the design principles. Just read it together silently and prepare yourself. And then break that Constitution article down and ask, what are the core beliefs underlying this article as far as you can tell? And what should be done differently? Why? And if you've got time to jump onto yet another article of the Constitution, because you got an easy one, super, that's awesome. And they'll come back together, and you'll only get 2 or 3 minutes to summarize your groups. So you want to make sure that summarization is really condensed. And then give us all the feedback and maybe a call to action. So that's the sequence of events. When you summarize your room, remember who's your spokesperson, what's your article, you'll share your summary. Then we'll ask you, how do we do things differently, better next time? But that's for the future. We're going to go ahead and send you off to your meetings. Now, Kevin is going to give you, if he hasn't already, a slide similar to number 5 here, and you can take a screenshot if you want to. When you're in breakout rooms, you don't see this screen, but you can share with each other in there. So the facilitator will share a screen and keep in front of you either the Constitution article you're looking at or the sequence of events reminder, something to keep you guys focused as you work. Are we ready to break into teams, or are there urgent questions? See, Kevin has indeed shared the screen sharing PNG in the chat. I'm seeing no anxiously waving arms or legs, so I'm guessing we're ready to split up. Kevin, how are we doing on assigning rooms?
So we have number 1, he's going to be Tom Bailey. He's the facilitator. Alex, Autumn, and Sam Jernigan at Breakout Room 1.
So room number 1, please work on article number, I believe, 8 is the next one that we haven't worked on yet, article 8 of the Constitution.
And then Breakout Room 2, we have Dimitri is the facilitator. We have Adam Zintarski, June, Dom, and Kosi, and Myra will be in there as well. And then Breakout Room 3, we have Paco as the facilitator, and Eve LaRose, and Anna, Josh Kaufman, and myself or Thomas, depending on who wants to go in there.
I'll stay out. I'll just pop in and visit folks. So room number 1, Article 7 of the current Constitution. Room number 2, Article 8. And then room number 3 gets the lucky Article 9, very exciting article. They're all awesome in their own way, but I have a special love for Article 9. If you are ready, here we go. Send them to their rooms, please, sir. Mm-hmm.
Hey, how's it going, Dimitri?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I have 8 a.m. right now in China. How about you?
What's going on?
All right, cool.
5 o'clock here, California.
All right, cool. I need permission for recording right now.
Actually, I can record. I'm starting.
You're recording?
I'm starting already. I will upload.
All right. I'm recording as well because we can make 2 records. It's okay. Guys, let's start. Yeah. But Yeah, you're right. But it's easier to find the video on your own computer than later go on the internet or somewhere. If you need some summarization, you could check one more time. So right now, I will ask everyone to make short introduction. We will make kind of list. First, we'll talk June, then Myra, then and right. Can you hear me?
I think before your connection was not so good.
All right. Right now, can you hear me? Is good? If good, thumb up. Not good, thumb down. Okay. Thumb up. Okay. So I will ask everyone to make short introduction. 1 minute. We'll start with June, then Myra, then Jose Morafo from EOS Africa, and Adam from Detroit in dance. Okay?
Okay.
Sure. June, please.
Sounds good. My name is June Dam. Organized one of the organizers of EOS Ignite. Just a EOS enthusiast, also a community member for Steam and BitShares as well. So, but that's pretty much my background. So,
Okay.
June, where you are right now?
oh yeah, I am in California, San Francisco Bay Area, in the U.S. So.
Cool. Thank you. Myra, please.
Hi, I'm Myra. Come from EOS Alliance. Actually, my language is a limitation. So for the English call, I would like for someone type down thing instead of speak out.
It's okay. We all in help. Here.
Okay.
Just talk a bit louder because we cannot hear you a bit clear. Just.
Okay. I was thinking my audio really good. Okay. Nice to meet you, EOS Detroit and EOS Africa. I have never met them before. And myself and Joan and Dimitri already met each other for a lot of times.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Myra, where are you now right now?
Shanghai.
All right, Shanghai, China. Jose Morafo, EOS Africa, please.
Yes. How are you guys? I hope you're doing well. It's Jose Morafo from EOS Africa. We are in South Africa. We are a blog producer candidate. We're standby blog producer. We've been working on EOS for the past since the beginning of the year. And actually, Myra, we met in Seoul at the conference. Yes.
Also Shanghai.
And Shanghai, yes, as well. Yes. Dimitri, I've met. June, we spoke last week or the other week during your conference. So I'm glad to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So you're right now in South Africa, right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Adam, please, your introduction.
How's it going, Rob?
That's good. Hello, Rob. That's great. All right, guys, let's. I would like to share my screen with you, and so you can see our PPT, which we're gonna talk today. All right, so. Can someone send a PPT in a group chat? Myra, do you have presentation? Yeah, if you get a link, please share it with me so I can show it on the screen. The last one, right? Yeah, here we go. All right. So can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
All right, that's great. So what we're going to talk today about, we're going to talk about Article number 8 of our Constitution. And I'm going to share Article 8 with you later. And are you sure it's that one? Yeah. And the questions today will be, what are the core beliefs and design principles of this article? What should be done differently and why? And optional, if time is available, discuss the next article. So the question is to discuss what the body of this article. So let's get to the Constitution right now, and let's read Article 8 together. It's pretty short article, just one sentence. I think it's not hard, will be for us. Can I ask Adam to read article for us? All right. So this article is about languages. Language is a very interesting thing. It's kind of Babylon can happen if people do not understand each other. So I think we can start. Who wants to start? First of all, I don't want to persuade people to start discussion of this article. Let's back to the questions. So the question number 1 is, what are the core beliefs and design principles of this article? What the intent of this article? Great. All right. Got your opinion. Someone want to continue? June, Myra?
So I think the first part, I think Rob explained, and then I guess there's a second part to that, which is if there's any errors in translation, then there's some liability there. So I guess, I mean, these rulings are, binding, and there's a high level of importance. So if there's any mistranslations, it could cause some problems and losses. So I guess that's the intent of the second half of the article. That we need good translations.
I want to enhance one thing, that's every single words a little bit change. Even the Chinese part, a little bit different can totally change the meaning. I've been experiencing this a lot. That's the reason the translation need to be neutral. It shouldn't be translated by like one block producer. It should be a neutral organization.
All right.
So yeah, I think that's a good point about the practicality of translations. I mean, there are a lot of difficulties, I'm sure. And so, anyways, in terms of liability, it seems, I don't know, it could be unfair sometimes if translations are very difficult to get right and there's some liability involved, but maybe it's some standard practice. I'm not sure. So, but anyways, I don't want to. So, but that's a good point that Myra makes about translations being very difficult and ambiguous sometimes by nature.
You can translate your words into bad now. I can say, June is good. You can say you're excellent, you're wonderful, but I can say you are not bad. You don't have default. So actually, I switch the meaning. You see?
Okay.
So translation can have some issues if kind of contracts wrote originally in, for example, in Russian language, and there is no exact translation to English. Then people can kind of play with the words. How we say that? They can just twist the meaning of some words and say, "I didn't mean that. I mean another thing." And in translation, do not show this thing. Actually, if you speak in Chinese and English, there can be some misunderstanding in translation because it's totally different way of thinking and totally different languages. So I think we can have this kind of this issue in translation between English and Chinese. What do you think, guys, about it?
So it's Kosi, yeah? I think this issue is not a new problem. The UN, they have the same issue. The ICC has the same issue. Could we then look at what they do and how they handle the issue? Because they have very strict legal requirements for their translation. I'm not too sure how they handle it. Can we look at their experience and say, okay, this is how it is handled? Because from the top of my head, I think it's one of those worker proposal issues where you might need a solid team of translators who translate in a way that is legally sound for everybody to kind of be around them.
Yeah, but this is if we're talking about the translation of the kind of, for example, constitution or like some official document. But if you're writing a contract between yourself and like someone else, is already in the business, is already between you and a person. So these things like I don't think the translators from the WPS can go into these small cases. This is like already a case between you and someone else. It's like, for example, I would like to make a contract between me and another person to buy a cat. And we're talking about some specific things that it should be some special cat. And I receive another cat, and everything is for example, in the Russian language. And in translation, for example, there is no difference between the cat I want and cat proposed by another person, like the seller. So I think here is the body of this article. Sorry, maybe I'm dominating in the call, so I will try to give you more possibility to talk.
Yes, but you see, it won't be just a cat. It could be $100 million contract, and those are serious, more than just a cat.
Everything,
you see?
Yeah.
So you really might want to have a solid translation service for the chain that will survive any scrutiny.
All right. So, what's your opinion about this? My proposition. Let's take real life cases. What can happen? Like with this article, what kind of issues we can face in real life? Let's start one by one. June, please.
Yeah, an example of this. One thing I just maybe before that I was just thinking to clarify, I guess, is that I guess the first point is the main point that that you have to specify one prevailing language. So at least when you do have a dispute, you have one language in the contract to refer to as the ultimate authority, and then all the translations would be secondary to that main language. So I think for efficiency, that makes sense that you choose one for the contract. But anyway, so maybe if you guys can think of examples, it's gonna take me a while to think about a good example.
All right, then think about it. We can ask someone else to say example, like to give us example. For example, guys from the EOS Detroit, maybe they have something to tell us. What kind of example? Right. Oh. Right. Yeah, roughly. Far away, but roughly kind of that thing. It's like, I think it can happen in a trading thing. If people trade in something between them and they talking about, for example, I would like to buy a markers from one trader, and I'm writing specifically in the contract that it should be blue marker. And then the blue, there is different variation of the blue. So I'm mentioning it should be azure blue, and it's getting like dark blue. I'm getting dark blue, and there is some misunderstanding in kind of languages thing, because I'm talking in some Spanish language which I don't know. So in such case, I should make a prevail language English, or like, so in English more people can communicate. So basically, let's have it English contract, and this is prevailing language. And for some specific things, people cannot understand. It should be clear translation to the Spanish language. But if there is some dispute, some misunderstandings, then we getting back to the default language, which is English language. That's how I understand it.
Okay, if I may, what is wrong with having the parties to the contract be responsible for their own translation? Meaning, if I want to be in accordance with you, Dimitri, I get my own translator, you get your translator. We make sure that they are competent enough to do the job for us.
We need to find a middle language. It's like prevailing language is a language which all of us can understand. It will be clear contract in this language. This is the point.
You see, but my only issue with that, I understand for efficiency, but my only issue is you start having a lingua franca where a certain language dominates over other languages, which means certain groups of people start to dominate other certain groups of people. That's the only problem I have with that. But probably it might not be a problem at all.
It's hard for me to give real example because I never faced this problem before. Like when we discussed Article 6, it was about the breach in the rules of the contract. I faced breach in the rules of the contract, but I never faced kind of like the problems with the language misunderstanding. Even I'm living in China for 5 years.
So one thought to respond to Kosi's proposition. I think that'd be a good thing to do for probably any contract where you don't understand the language. But I think the problem that could happen with Article 8 is it's a Ricardian contract that has multiple languages in it. And whoever was responsible for initially publishing that may get the translation wrong. So they're basically publishing 2 paragraphs in different languages that somehow contradict each other. So the English reader believes it means one thing, and the, let's say, Chinese reader believes it means something else. And so at that point, it wouldn't matter if we had external translators because the initial publication was wrong.
What I'm saying is that if I go into a contract, it's my responsibility to make sure that it's written in the correct way that I want it to be. It does not matter what language it is. So it's like you have with a lawyer who becomes the proxy in court. Your interpreter becomes the proxy for that particular translation. So if your hired interpreter gets it wrong, it's your fault. It's not anybody else's fault.
So basically it's on you before you sign the contract to make sure that you've translated it appropriately and you understand.
That's what I'm proposing, yes.
So even if you don't speak the prevailing language, you read the translation, it's your responsibility to go double check the other languages in the contract. Exactly. I think that's fair and a pretty good way to solve it, to be honest.
I think so as well, because prevailing languages is what we are related in the end. If we have some problems with the contract, if we have dispute, I think here is our consensus. What do you think, guys?
Okay, I think Dimitri, you need to assign who will be the speaker for us for our group after, so they can be prepared.
All right, so we can do votes. I want to hear your opinion about the speaker, but from my point of view, I would like to let 2 guys from the Detroit to be our speakers today. What do you think, guys?
Same opinion from here.
That's good.
All right,
that's good.
I was going to suggest Kosi because he came up with the idea, but if you would like us to present it, I think that it's totally fine.
No, go ahead and present it. I think you summarized it quite well.
Oh, thank you.
All right, good. Then thumb up if you agree. Thumb down if you don't agree. Okay, thumb up. All right, that's cool. Many thumbs up. Then we will let you go to the main room, and you will speak summarization.
I don't think
about the Article 8?
I don't think it's right now. We're going to the big room.
We still have 5 minutes. Still have 5 minutes.
I had a quick question about the summarization. So the summarization we bring back to the big room is, what do we believe the core beliefs of the art, or the core design beliefs are, and then the feedback about how maybe we would change it, or Kosi's idea essentially.
Yeah, the consensus that we reached as a group, which was kind of that.
Right.
What should be done differently?
What should be done differently? Also, the last question: what you would like to change in this article? This is a point.
Gotcha.
Also.
Okay.
My own take that there should not be a lingua franca. That is my take. That's essentially what I'm saying. And the reason I'm stating is because once you have language dominating, you then have a group dominating.
Makes a lot of sense. So essentially, if that was the case, then the suggestion is to totally do away with Article 8, right? Because Article 8 is essentially establishing that lingua franca, or the ability for each contract to have its own lingua franca.
Maybe change the wording for Article 8.
Okay.
Not to say that it must have one prevailing language. Okay, right. I'm not too sure about how I could phrase it in English, but the one prevailing language is the part that I find not so kosher.
Okay. Gotcha. So maybe the if we go back to that article, maybe we can come up with a quick edit. We've got 3 minutes, but I think we could do it.
I want to have a suggestion.
Okay.
Maybe, Detroit. When you're going to present yourself, don't be limited. Your hands don't be tight. Just speak out something. You don't need to speak out every one idea, but if you can speak out something to impress other people, because everyone give you ideas, you just need to speak out something good. Okay, don't limitation. I don't think there are limitation.
Okay, got it, Myra. That's a great pep talk.
Because I have in the phone calls of different area. Yesterday there have some lawyers actually. They're really, because they can really reply this question. You can see if the multi-languages lawyers, they really can see the difference between each word. They can say, this is wrong. So he is really agitated. They say, this word is wrong. Shouldn't like this. So can you imagine right now in the institution, they're talking really deep. They dive really deep about every word. So just express yourself, impress yourself.
Gotcha. So basically, try to get the concept we discussed across, and don't fret on the words.
Yes, I think it's important for you to speak out something smart, and everyone can be impressed.
Okay.
Yeah, the point of just give a bright example what you think about kind of this issue can be, and summarize what we was talking today, like together, all 5 of us.
I have sent a Google document in the chat. Make sure you can open. So after, if you want to post it, but I'm sure you can edit, make it better. But make sure that you have the permission to open it. Okay, all right, you have it.
Oh, that's great. You just wrote right now, right?
No, I copied from Adam actually.
I was doing it in the chat so that to help Myra out.
Oh, amazing! That's cool. He's like solving so much problems. Yesterday, I spent so much time to record, to make a log after video, just type in and listen and type in.
The best thing is just directly do it right now and post it after. Okay. So see you in the big room. Bye.
Yeah, see you there. They're gonna make a call for us. Yeah, here it is. Okay.
Do you want me to do this?
Okay, I'm resuming recording here in the main room. It looks like we're done with breakouts, or folks are starting to come trickling back from the breakout rooms. Always takes a few seconds, up to a minute. Hope people had fun.
I used to always want to be a lawyer before, because I believe language is a weapon, okay? And yesterday you see the Mandarin phone call, they have a lawyer, and he really dive deep of every word. He said, this is wrong. So can you imagine a multi-languages lawyer? I really like a unicorn right now, because every, let's say, blockchain project needs a law right now.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Looks like everyone's back from all the breakouts. Nope, a few more trickling in. Yep, there's Steve. Super. Okay, we are ready for the report out phase. Hang on just a second while I launch the screen share. Anna looks so pleased. She always does. Eminently cheerful. That's such a delight.
I think I'm just giggling. I don't know.
And it should not be imagined that that is in any way anything other than a remark of delight upon your happy countenance. So you should see slide 6, summarize your room. Hopefully that's visible. Yes. So real quick, room number 1, your spokesperson is?
It is Sam.
It'll be Sam. Room number 2, your spokesperson is?
Oh.
Room 2?
That's me. Sorry, I was muted.
Adam. Okay, Sam, then Adam. And then room 3, your spokesperson is going to be?
Eve.
Eve. Sam, Adam, and Eve. I will make no comments. So for room number 1, tell us your article, share your summary, and then we'll go on to room 2. So Sam, the floor is yours.
Article 7, open source, and I would, I'll keep it short. I'll ask Tom and Autumn to fill in where I mess up. Very quickly, we discussed the opening line seems to be a definition of what a developer is, or at least we think it's a definition of a developer. Tom noted that while the design principles are brevity, it might have been too brief, in the sense that we're not sure if it's stating that the person who actually deploys a contract, like a surgeon or a doctor, is now a developer, and what implications that might have in terms of that person needing to get personal liability insurance, who knows? Or is it defining an organization that broadly that deploys a smart contract as, quote, a developer, and thus in itself is a definition? We also then talked about the open source free and open source nature of a requirement of a contract. We talked about what, if any, implications it might have for sister chains, maybe a financial institution or financial organizations or private companies that want to have a private chain and some copy. Didn't have any real suggestions or changes. We also talked a little bit about the definition for people who are less familiar about the idea of assigning an arbitration forum. But I think one takeaway was maybe that first sentence of what a developer is could be refined or more specific, less brief. But I'll defer to Tom.
Could you say your last sentence a little louder, Sam? You faded out a bit and I couldn't quite catch it.
Sorry. We think that first sentence, unless it's elsewhere more comprehensively described, what is the definition and implications of being labeled a developer with a capital D? Is there, what does that mean? Is that a person? Is that an organization? We couldn't figure that out. I think it could be more clearly identified, and it may be elsewhere in the document that we are looking.
Super. Thank you very much, Sam, for the summary. Terrific. All righty. Room 2, Article 8. Spokesperson is Adam. Adam, unmute yourself and you have the floor.
Cool. Yeah, so we had Article 8, which is language. This primarily has to do with like multilingual contracts or making sure that a prevailing language or a default standard is defined, at least when it comes to what's going to be considered in arbitration. The second part of this deals with essentially assigning the responsible party for when misinterpretations happen. I would say the biggest thing in our group, the biggest sentiment that ended up coming out of it was that when you, I would say when you define a prevailing language like that, what it can do is it allows the countries and the cultures of that language to dominate certain conversations. I would say the big kind of change that came out of this, or recommended change, although we didn't have exact language, or whether or not we would just get rid of the article altogether. But Kosi from EOS Africa had a really great suggestion that I think a lot of us kind of agreed with and resonated with us, was making it so that the responsibility of ensuring the translation is correct is on the other party and not necessarily the developer or whoever's doing the smart contract. And the reason for that is that in law in general, you need to make sure that you understand, and you're always responsible for making sure that you understand what that contract is saying. And in this case, it would be verifying that the translation is correct, and having some, depending on the contract, having other conversations to gather context from the people that you're doing business with, if it's in that case, right? So I think that was kind of the big change that we would make, although we don't have exact language of what that would look like.
So essentially moving the responsibility from the person who published the multilingual contract to each of the individuals that are signing that contract. And the onus is on them to verify the translation up front before they sign it.
Right. Interesting. Love it. Anything else from room 2?
I don't think so. Nope.
Wonderful. That's very concise. Awesome. Thank you very much. Now room 3 with the ever popular Article 9 and
Yes.
LaRose.
So the article was dispute resolution. What we did at first is we took time and we went and reread the RDRs, seeing as you can't really talk about dispute resolution without kind of giving that context.
RDRs is a reference
to the rules of dispute resolution,
which are referenced by Article 9. Yep.
Yes.
Super.
And we also reread the Constitution, because the Article 9 refers back to dispute resolution on any of the constitutional articles. And so everything needs to be put in context. What we discussed was that the original purpose of this particular article was to enforce the Constitution, like I just said. What came out quite a bit is that going forward, the way that it's currently written, it writes a single body that could be chosen to arbitrate right now. However, most people seem to say that they would prefer having multi-bodies or multi-forums, having more of a free market, so not necessarily that centralized into one area. Most people also mentioned that the RDRs are fairly easy to read. However, they require a rewrite because some parts are not clear, in the sense that the intent of what was discussed when writing them is probably not legally sound when reading the RDRs currently. So even though we might know what the RDRs should say, that they're currently not legally saying them properly, so that there would need to be a rewrite. Also, there needs to be more context in terms of the ECAF handbook or ECAF supporting material that is currently not found in good enough amounts, or it's not that they're not really accessible and or not available at all. Concerns that were brought up from real world were cases off-chain versus on-chain. So we talked a little bit about that. And we talked about developers who are looking to come on the chain, but perhaps right now have concerns because they don't properly understand this article and or the intent of what the idea behind dispute resolution should be on this blockchain. We also talked about, over the last couple of months, the spirit of this article has somewhat been lost. The article itself is named dispute resolution. However, all the talks have been surrounding arbitration, which is a type of dispute resolution, which is generally the last resort for dispute resolution. And so if we link to ECAF and if we link to what's been going on, we always, the talks are always about scalability of arbitration and arbitration. But really what we should be discussing, and going back to the original intent of this, was to provide a medium of recourse for token holders, for small businesses. If we aim to be, we went back again to the original aim. What is the aim of the blockchain? The aim of the blockchain was to be mainstream adoptable, was to have large volume transactions because it can handle it, which means small businesses, they need that medium of recourse. They need that transactional confidence, that transactional certainty. And this article currently, the way it's written and the way that the people understand it, does not provide this. And so there would need to be a rewrite for clarity, so that we can go back to what the original intent of it was. So even people seem to be confused that the original intent was always supposed to have multiple forums. However, the way that it's currently written, it does not allow that. So again, just inconsistencies between the original intent and what is currently written.
Super. Wow. You guys managed to pack a lot into a brief meeting, because that is a very deep topic that you covered in Article 9. Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything from Room 3 to add to Eve's summary? I know there was a lot covered, so if there's any other little chimes in, feel free before we wrap it up.
One more thing, actually, that I forgot to mention that was important. The idea behind this article is to enforce the Constitution. Therefore, if the Constitution is also not properly written, so all the other articles need to be also rewritten in such a way that they make sense if we want to have dispute resolution.
Super. Oh, the subtleties we get into. Awesome stuff. Thank you, sir. Now ready to move on to the post-room summary into recommendations. So if you would please call up the chat function, chat window for Zoom, and in the chat window, if you would please write in your, how would we make this even better next time? So we'll give about 45 seconds of silence while people think, yeah, how could we make this awesome experience we all just had even better? Whatever that thought is, go ahead and type it in. You don't have to worry about how it could be done. You may not know how it can be done. You don't have to. If you know how it could be done, we'd love to hear it, but that's not necessary. About 15 more seconds. Go ahead and finish your sentence, whatever it is you're typing. And then the next question is, what was your favorite part of this experience? In other words, what should we not change because it was so cool and wonderful? I sometimes call that the loved best question. What would you love best? And again, we'll give that about 45 seconds. Okay, go ahead and finish typing whatever it is you're typing. If a second thought comes up, you'd love to have you put that in, but I want to give you a quick summary of our need for volunteers. We have a number of facilitators and greatly appreciate that. We'd love to have more facilitators, more volunteers doing other things like writing summaries, like live streaming, like hosting more events like this, like whatever else comes up. The Alliance is largely volunteer run. And we're going to be people who can wrangle other volunteers, sort of meta volunteers, if you will. So if you want to stream calls, write summaries, start your own channel, start your own discussion, anything at all, we will help you. That's our job. Eve has his hand up. Eve.
I was trying to find the hand up button, but I couldn't find it anymore. Can we live stream while we're on the call? As in, like, sure. if I were to have live stream while I was doing it, because apparently people were listening in, and the live stream went wherever Rodrigo went.
Right. Yes. And you can both record breakouts and stream from breakouts. And it's not always obvious how. I've never managed to successfully live stream. I've never really tried seriously, so I can't guide you on that. But yes, absolutely, you can stream breakout rooms as well as record them.
If anybody's interested, I can teach them how to do it or publish a guide.
That would be brilliant. That was Adam just now saying that. Thank you. And let's see, was there a hand up to add more, or?
That was a thumbs up from me. Thank you, Adam.
Awesome. So quick call to action, please consider creating your own calls to discuss other articles, or maybe go even deeper on Article 9. Maybe we need a whole week on Article 9 or some other article. Maybe you don't want to wait around for us to finish version 1 and get to version 2 of the Constitution. You want to dive into that, the Daniel Larimer proposal. That would be super. Please just do record things where it's appropriate and do publish summaries so other people can get the benefit. And there's a video we recorded on just some guidance on how to be a facilitator. There's a lot of good guidance out there in the world, and we did our own training that we recommend, which includes some of the hands-on stuff about how we do Zoom here. So if you wanted to watch that recording, there's the Alliance link right there to a YouTube recording to that training. And please feel free, if you are trained as a facilitator, join our Telegram group and stay in touch. We thank you very much. We thank you both in English and in Chinese, because that's how we roll. Anybody has any last thoughts? That's the end of the canned presentation, but if folks want to just chat, we can hang out here for a little bit. I've got 9 minutes before my next meeting, but I will stop the recording at this point and say thank you all very much. Okay. So what did you really think?